Good evening, my listening friends, and welcome to Let's Talk Radio with Robert Vaughn, Verl Majid, and Mike Shomo. And we're so glad you could join us this evening. We will certainly try our best to bring you a great show tonight. We are going to cover a subject I think will be of interest to everyone. Please forgive the background. We had some technical issue there for a moment, but that's resolved. But we have a very important issue that we want to discuss tonight, and that is voting. And I'm sure some people are tired of hearing about it, but it should be, because voting determines, I know when I first took a political science course in high school, you probably had the same teacher, Mark Parsaliti. You remember Parsaliti? And he said, voting determines politics.
So y'all up there level 4, level 5, I was down to level 3.
Okay. But he said voting determines who gets what, when, where, and how.
Exactly.
And he said, if you look at any society, any state, any city, any government, he's saying it's almost if the people that vote are the people that get the resources, and the people that don't vote don't get the resources. He said you can look at the voting percentage of people, and you can tell who's getting the resource and who isn't. Cleveland, I just want to kind of throw this out there, which is kind of really sad. I mean, it's funny because people from all over the world know about Cleveland. I was at Punta Cana a couple of years ago. There was a guy from Russia, 2 guys from Texas, and a guy from South Africa. And they said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Cleveland." What do you think the first thing that came out of their mouth was?
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
LeBron James.
LeBron James. Okay.
They don't know anything about Cleveland. They knew about LeBron James. And, that's what a lot of people see. And that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was the second thing that came out of their mouth. So they know those 2 things about the Cleveland, but what they don't know is that Cleveland is the poorest big city in the country. And I think it may be that way because people don't engage in the process and people don't vote. Just a few statistics here. Among the Black population, the poverty rate is 44%. American Indians is 38%, Asian 35%, Middle Eastern 33%, mixed race 40%, white 25%, Hispanic 36%. So in Cleveland, it doesn't matter what race you're in. There's a significant number, a significant percentage below the poverty rate, below the poverty line. Of course, Black has the highest percentage, and we can, make some. We all know probably why that is the way it is. Clevelanders, as a rule, don't vote the way some other cities do, and as a result, we get shortchanged. We can build. We can build a stadium. We can build a new basketball arena. We can build highways that cost hundreds of millions of dollars, but we can't feed kids. We have the highest child poverty rate in the country. And I know these statistics are shocking, but I think, one of the reasons for this might be is that people don't vote. You guys want to jump in? What are your thoughts? Burl?
Well,
go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Most important thing is that Cleveland had developed into the poorest city. And when they talk about in terms of poor, people not looking for or doing things, but they are in reference to the amount of social services that goes into our city. Now, back in 2008, I came up with a proposal called Proposal 360, and I've talked about this before, which was turning a facility that was closed into a training system and center where people could learn a trade in like maybe about 10, 15 weeks and be employed in those areas almost immediately. But, at that time, Jimmy DeMore, he was online with it, but the other 2, with Hagan and was the guy, he was on our show, your boy.
Peter Lawson Jones.
Yeah, Peter Lawson Jones wasn't with it because, first of all, Hagan asked me, he says, well, if we have everybody as full employment, what are the caseworkers going to do? What are the social services going to do? I'm saying, like, wow, we would increase. And I said, with just a couple of courses, would increase the what I call the direct positive impact to our community was over $100 million, $113 million. And they were worried about. I said, well, you got to figure like this. There's still going to be problems. We can take those people that are in the social services and make them life coaches that they have to have or have to participate in a program, to keep them employed, keep their family together, and and have counseling and financial, let them get houses and stuff like that. There'd be plenty of work for them.
So Mike, let me understand what you're saying. What I'm hearing is that poverty is an economic engine of sorts.
Right, exactly.
Which is a little crazy, but yeah, that's
like this. Okay.
For one segment of the population, it's like a lot of people, like folks who are in power and in control right now, they like to get government money for these different programs, but they don't want them to really be successful, because then they'd be out of a job. But then it wouldn't really be out of a job, they'd be out of that particular job. Mm-hmm. Like Mike was saying, the workers could be like swing workers. Okay, you're a caseworker now you're a life coach. You can still be getting paid.
Right. But the poverty pimps aren't all of the people from the areas of the of the city that are in poverty.
Okay, look at the program. Yeah. How many heat centers, or how many places where you can go to get heat and stuff? Those people are paid. Okay, yeah. Those people are paid to say, or you figure the people that distribute the food at the food bank, those people are getting paid.
Mm-hmm. Mike, you know what? What's crazy?
Well, that provide Section 8 housing.
Right. But just think about what he was saying, that Hagan said, what about a caseworker? That's almost like saying, if we get the people in prison jobs, what are the guards going to do? You know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous.
Right.
Well, poverty feeds prisons. Right. And you got for-profit prisons. So I mean, a lot of people make money off poverty.
Without question.
Poverty, the more police you
have. Big business.
The more police, the more judges. So it's a business.
Go ahead.
You look at the stores in minority communities. You compare their prices with the other prices of the major stores and stuff. They are ridiculous. But people know they're there. It's just like, the old saying, the poor get poorer, mm-hmm. and the rich get richer.
And we've seen that during this pandemic too. We've seen the billionaires become like super billionaires, right. Almost on the knocking on the door being a trillionaire, which makes no sense at all when everybody else in the community is leaking, Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you know what? One of the things like this, it's really time for a big change. Mm-hmm. The Frank Jackson era or administration, it's ran its course. I mean, 16 years, and we have seen very little change other than downtown. And I know you got to attract businesses and bring people in from the suburbs to spend money, but you cannot neglect the inner city, and there hasn't been a balance. We saw the legs get cut out of our community, and this happens all the time. It's either like when they took the numbers business away, our underground economy. Banks wouldn't lend blacks money, right. Anything. Cleveland Trust, no.
The banks still don't lend us money.
Exactly. They let us put our money in, they pay us 0.07% and will not lend us money. So that's how come the numbers and things like that sprung up. And unfortunately, a lot of guys are turning to other things now, which are, much more serious than that. Mm-hmm. But the numbers business actually employed and fed a lot of people, and it was pretty much a victimless crime. You decide if you want to play or not. You're not hooked on it.
That's one of the results of racism, is that, you are not afforded the opportunities, like some people aren't afforded the same opportunities as other people.
Or Robert, you know what?
You're not able to achieve and not able to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. So I mean, it's this is like this whole critical race theory thing. First of all, most people that talk about critical race theory really don't understand it, because it's not taught in schools. It's a graduate level course that's taught in colleges that says that because of systemic racism, you know, it's become ingrained in different parts of the society. You know, for instance, when you buy a house, yeah,
Right, exactly, and not just housing
Mhm.
and redlining, and you know whether you get rejected for going to a particular college or not. We've seen okay. They always say, we always hear the expression, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's if you have some bootstraps. When we build a Black Wall Street, which we had in Tulsa and other places, it gets destroyed one way or another. One the most modern way is they say, we're going to bring a big interstate down right through here.
But they
Basically,
did
right
that
now,
during the 50s. During the 50s and 60s, they did that in every major city.
and that's what I'm saying. That is a crime. That's criminal. So until, I mean, I don't know if it's going to take marching or what, but
Bro,
something's got to happen, you know.
I think you could start with voting, going to vote.
Yeah. Right, okay, and the voting is, I mean, you gotta figure like this. And they say, well, you know, the squeaky wheel get the most oil. The people that have the most votes, the people that get the votes and stuff in their community of votes, they get what they need. They get what they need. Now, the thing is that if I was just at a seminar not too long ago, and they were talking about voting. Now, if you look at Cleveland and look at Atlanta, Georgia, now a lot of Clevelanders went down to Atlanta because of, you know, the opportunities. Well, you know, small business and they had Black banks down there. They had other banks that got on board because they're not just going to let the Black banks make all the money in this big boom. Y'all remember the boom when everybody was going down to Atlanta. Those people now, most of them are millionaires.
That's what opportunities were. Yeah, that's what opportunities were.
See, here in Cleveland, people have left. You know, it's just like, you know, the banks and stuff. Now, when you know, we were talking about you know, put in Ward 4, you know, building 270 new homes. The way that, you know, you go about that is that you take people who have jobs. You take people who have jobs all in the Cleveland area and the outgoing suburbs that work here in Cleveland, that say, hey, we got 5 designs that we're gonna have in this ward. You know, you're gonna have a 2.5 car garage. You can have a house with multi-level, you know, 2 flat upstairs, downstairs, or just 1 flat, but a design that look good and done and built, you know, with excellence, you know, with serious craftsmanship. And the thing is that one by one, you sell that house. You say, well, look, we're not going to take you through all this credit stuff. We're not going to ask you for all this and your firstborn child. We're not going to do that. All you have to do is prove that you can pay the note. You put a note,
Exactly.
You know, but all
Turn renters into buyers. Yeah.
because
Is voting the answer?
Not 100%, because I'm gonna tell you why.
Mhm.
Even today in 2021, we see more voter suppression tactics being used by certain groups, particularly Republicans, redistricting, breaking up different communities, you know.
Right. If
And
people
this types of things.
don't vote, those are the kind of people that you get elected to office. When Cleveland, when you have, you know, 23% of the people going.
But see, this is the thing, Robert, though. We got an African-American mayor now.
Mm-hmm.
And he ain't going to bat for what would really benefit his community.
And the voting percentage in the last mayoral election was about 21%.
You know why? Now look at that. He was probably, when he first got in there, it was much higher. But after people saw this rascal's getting in, he ain't doing nothing anyway. So what the heck?
But see, that's what I'm saying. So in a case like that, it would make sense to vote him out. But people,
that's the thing. But hopefully we don't get somebody else in there who's got people are pulling his strings, and it's the same old thing, a black face, black window dressing. You know, that's all it is.
Well,
they're not looking for our interest.
Tomorrow, and I'm not going to bet money, but if the voting is over 30%, I'd be shocked.
Well, let me tell you this.
And you got a mayoral election, you know, where there's a lot at stake.
Let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't ask people to come out and go to the rec center go down to the library and do this to do the census.
Mhm.
Now, because didn't nobody people didn't fill out the census, we're gonna lose 2 council seats. We're gonna lose 2. Now, which one of those council seats are? They're looking at Ward 4 because they want to take over Ward 4 because they want to gentrify it, because it's prime, really, it's 11 minutes max to 10 to 15 minutes to every place. Out
Yeah.
Out Pepper Pike up. Plus we got
Beechwood, yeah.
we got a Pepper, if you look at the map, Ward 4 is in the center of the greater Cleveland area. You know, you got Garfield, you got Bedford. It's 10 to 15 minutes every place in Cuyahoga County almost, you know?
Yeah, it's a perfect place.
We got the park system, we got a good rec center, we got 2 rec centers, we got room for the mall, all they gotta do is gentrify. But here it goes. Who's gonna leave and who's gonna stay? You know, as far as those 2 council seats that they have to give up. But it's because, you know, no one came out or nobody filled out the census, and we had census people going to their house, door to door. Okay, let me see. So now you have people, just think of the concept. We had people going to your house, knocking on your door, asking you just how many people you live there, so that they can say, you know, what we need far as what we need to build, the schools we need to put here, the daycares we need to do an overall scope of what the community needs. Now, if they didn't go out, if they didn't go to their door and answer them questions, how do we get them out to vote? You understand what I'm saying? We had people coming to your house, and it's because you did not fill out the census that we're going to get in more trouble.
But you know what? Okay, think about this for a minute. And I mean, I am pro-voting, but I can see why people have developed this kind of apathy and cynicism. You know, the last time blacks really turned out in masses when Obama ran the first time. But do you remember the long lines, voting machines that didn't work? This is more voter suppression. And maybe this is the reason we should even fight harder. But the thing is, obviously, our elected officials, and that's why we got to get the right ones in there, we got to make sure that this machine is running correctly, you know, because otherwise people just get to the point where they're like, hey, nothing is happening anyway, you know, so what's the point? And then even Obama got in there and he was, I won't say a disappointment, but he did not, well, I mean, I'm not going to blame it on him. He didn't do as much as I feel like he could have done.
But you know what?
But at the same time, we know that the Republicans had made a mandate that no matter what he proposed, they were going to shoot it down. I mean, that's criminal. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? You have to, at some point, you have to accept some responsibility yourself.
Oh, we do. This is the age of personal responsibility. I agree.
When you have a Ward 4 voting at 17 or 18%, you can't point the finger at anybody.
Well, it's up to us to,
people in Cleveland, the last mayoral election voted at 26%. You can't point the finger at anybody. You have to become engaged, and I've heard every excuse why people don't vote. I've heard every excuse in the book, from my vote doesn't matter, I got off work late, I was too tired, oh my God, voting was yesterday. I mean, I've heard every excuse in the book. Atlanta is what it is because people are engaged.
Right.
They got,
and you know, there's a huge black population.
Yes. Yeah, no, but they vote. It's not that much bigger than Cleveland. Atlanta's maybe 80 to 100,000 people bigger than Cleveland. But they have a Jewish senator and an African-American senator in a southern state. Their voting was at 78%.
You know, Atlanta sounds like, Atlanta is like Cleveland was in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
Remember when we got Carl Stokes in? The whole city was, you know, it was just a different vibe. You know, we had Muhammad Ali, you know, we had heroes to look up. We had thriving black newspapers and black businesses, you know, Steve Rogers, Super Value Supermarket, Winston, Seawright, Virgil, different people, numbers men, and other businesses. We saw all kinds of businesses. I can't even name how many, and now it's nothing.
We got about Shrimp Boat Ashley.
Well,
But you know what? That's what happens when you don't get involved. When you don't get involved, things don't happen all at once. They happen a little bit at a time.
But Robert, what precedes involvement? We got to get people excited and energized again. Give them and then something that's measurable. We got to show them some real progress. When you,
Well, I think,
wait a minute, you talked about accountability a minute ago. When we get somebody in there, we got to hold their feet to the fire. If we say, okay, if we get this guy in, this is going to change, and then 6 months later it hasn't changed, that's a problem.
Well, I think it's personal responsibility too.
Robert,
I think, yeah, but Verl, it's personal.
It's environment.
That's just like people, and I'll just make this argument, and I'll throw this out there. A lot of people don't agree with this, but I never heard in my whole life of somebody holding a gun to somebody's head and say, smoke this crack. Smoke it, smoke it. That's a personal choice. Not to be involved is a personal choice. And you can give me any excuse you want, but it's a personal choice. And we all know that.
Okay, I don't totally disagree with you, but I don't totally agree with you. Because it's all about environment,
Yeah, but
I came from a two-parent household. My parents warned me about drugs years ago. The closest I ever came to smoking a joint, I was on the school bus coming home from Kennedy. Somebody was in the back seat. It was packed. Somebody fired one up, passing it around. It got to me. I'm looking at this thing, and I just passed it to the next guy. I'm not on that, But I'm saying it's environment, Sometimes people do things. I mean, okay, I'm trying to think of an example. But look, if you put enough pressure on somebody, they'll do anything. You remember our war hero, John McCain? They tortured him so much, he was talking giving away all kinds of information. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what they say. And I've heard another story that said the reason they tortured him because he wouldn't talk.
Well,
so I mean.
But my point is, when you create an environment that forces people into a corner, they will make bad choices, particularly if they didn't have direction. Like all of us came from there were two parents in the household.
See, that's here again. We can find any excuse we want, but somewhere along the line, listen.
Go ahead.
Somewhere along the line, you got to take personal responsibility.
Robert, I agree, but I'm just saying.
Barack Obama came from a one-parent household.
Okay.
Yes, he did. But look at who raised him, his grandparents, right?
Time out.
Go ahead.
Both of y'all are saying good stuff. I'm more apt to agree with Robert because, see, it's a personal responsibility, and we have to make sure that people feel that they have a personal responsibility. Right now, they don't feel they got a personal. Oh, let so and so do it. I'm not going to vote. They're going to do it. But see, one of the things is organization, because you got the Urban League, you got all these
core,
all these organizations in each ward, NAACP. When's the last time you heard from NAACP? Because I guess everything is on the computer and online.
No, but see, that's a good example of poverty creating middle-class jobs for people. Poverty creates a lot of jobs, but like I have the most respect for community organizers. And one in particular, they get out in the community and get their hands dirty and drive people to the polls and go into prisons and try to educate youth. And that's where, that's taking personal responsibility to try to make people, realize that, the vote, you have to be involved. If you're not involved, things happen that you don't even know what happened.
Well, right. Well, Robert, Robert, I agree with you. First of all, I am for voting, but now you're talking about community organizing, which is important because that creates the environment that makes people want to do the right thing. You see what I'm saying? It's like Michael Corleone, if he hadn't grown up in the family business, he wouldn't have been out there shooting people.
Right.
but his environment affected what he did, his outcome. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Your dad was a principal, your mother was a school teacher. That environment, you still tried to get in trouble, but still, you had a good
It doesn't matter.
environment.
It doesn't matter. I had a neighbor. Both of his parents were psychiatrists. They lived in Shaker.
Look at the
And
situation.
listen. And he killed 2 people in a robbery. So
And that's
environment, that's, to me, that makes a difference. But that's kind of an excuse, man.
no, it's not. Environment to me
Girl.
is everything.
I
Wait a
know
minute.
people. I know a prominent attorney right now who was a foster child. I don't want to call his name out, but there's a prominent attorney in Cleveland right now, African American, who was a foster child. Now,
Right.
if you want to talk about environment, then he never should have made it to be, yeah.
No, there's always going to be something that slipped through,
You create your own environment right here. You
That, but
Right.
you see, Robert, that's
Thank you, Mike.
Robert.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Mhm.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Mhm.
You know what? If you feed the wrong stuff into your computer or your supercomputer, you have the wrong outcome. You know what I'm saying? Look at these kids, where they learn their lessons. Television,
Mhm.
rap music, and other things that they see in the community, so they grow up with this kind of thing. Now, some
And
still manage, wait a minute, let me finish. Some still manage to escape. But to me, environment is so important. I'm trying to think,
If you vote, you change your environment, though.
yeah, you got to have the mindset to do that. Okay, look at Denzel Washington, where he's come from. He said he was going off track big time, but the Boys and Girls Club, there were some people there to wrap their arms around him, saw something good in him, and nurtured him so that he would become the person he became.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like, okay, you got some seeds, you put them on the ground. If the weather's right, if it's the right kind of earth, you water it, nurture it, get some sunshine, you're gonna get the kind of thing you want, the right plant, the end product. But if the environment's not right, it's much harder, much more difficult.
It's
These
difficult.
kids got to be responsible, but they ain't never been responsible for nothing.
That's not an excuse. I'm just
Not an
saying.
excuse.
A lot of people break out of that, that environment.
These are factors. Some do.
I
mentality.
mean, all 3 of us could have said, "Oh man, we're black, man.
Right.
We can never get ahead in life."
But I say, but but we heard enough of the right thing.
All the time. We're black and we get discriminated against, so we can't go to college and we can't be professional photographers and we can't be, professionals doing this or doing that. And I think a lot of times we make excuses too easy for people. You look at, why do you think Nigerians are so successful, man? I had my brother-in-law, Ray, rest in peace, who was Nigerian. And he could do, and I was always an A student in math. But we used to, when I started taking higher level math, in college, I would go to him for help. And he said, well, I never took this. I said, well, how'd you learn on your own? They had one book and they would share a book. So his day when he got the book, write down all the problems in the book, and he would just do them over and over and over again. And he was like a math whiz. He got an advanced degree in mathematics, and he was like a math whiz. But I'm saying now he came from a place where they didn't have desks, they didn't have shoes. I mean, he came from extreme poverty in African Nigeria. But
Robert, you're missing something big though. You're missing something very big.
What's that?
He still had his culture. Mm-hmm. We had 400 years of somebody trying to stomp it out of us. Yeah, we still have some people that, wait a minute, let me finish. Some people that rise to the occasion. No matter what obstacle they put in front of them, they come through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your brother-in-law, he was a Yoruba. He could speak his language. He knew his history. He knew his people.
He was Igbo.
He was Igbo. Okay, Igbo, Yoruba, Fulani. I mean, there's
there's a big difference. There's a big difference.
Oh, okay. I know. I thought it was a Yoruba. Okay, but I know those are Igbo and Yoruba, the biggest groups.
Yeah.
And so he spoke. He can speak Igbo then.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying he's a big difference. One time somebody, Dick Gregory was speaking, and I was there, and they said, well, why can't we just do like the Jews and the Italians and the Asians and blah, blah, blah. And you know what he said? Don't compare me to those groups, the Jews, the Asians, and the Italians. Compare me to another nigga that's as crazy as I am and has went through what I went through. That's exactly what he said.
Hey, let me say this.
Go ahead.
The whole thing is our leaders that we voted for and leadership to lead us out of some things or lead us into some things. Now, I always think about when the society came up, and we can go back over to the Africans and stuff, because the Indians
Mhm.
from India taught them their math. Now, when they abolished, I think it was 1949 or something like that, when Prime Minister Nehru took over, and the first thing he did was, or one of the first things that he did was abolish the caste system, which said that they couldn't educate, the people in the lower class, because you see the people with the different colors on their forehead and stuff that tell you what class and stuff they were. And so what they did, they abolished that. And those people that wear them now just wear it for, decoration. But he traveled the country in India and looked around, because he said, because you couldn't teach the untouchables neither. They basically gathered the dead bodies and the trash and burnt the trash and stuff throughout the land. But when Nehru, when he abolished the caste system, he said he mandated that all people, no matter what class they used to be in, was afforded an education. Now, after he got everybody in school, he went back through the land and found out that they were math deficient, that they didn't know how to do math. They brought the Arabs in, to teach them math. And now y'all know what's happening. With the Indians are on the top of every tech company in almost the world, because they are so math. I mean, they're doing engineering math in junior high school and elementary school. Engineering math is the highest math in America that they go. But that's why you see all these Indians, they're in the IT, they're teaching math. They're doing it because they are the ones teaching math all around the world now. But I'm saying it would take a mandate for our country to say, I mean, why can't we have full employment? How come everybody, like they're talking about these billions of dollars these people making, like during the pandemic and stuff? Why are there poor people in America? Why? Because of free enterprise. Say, okay, I can make as much money and I do what I want to do with my money. That's not right.
Mike, you know what it is? The problem is not that we cannot feed the poor. The problem is that we cannot satisfy the rich.
Well,
you're right on that, because they don't want the people who are not making as much as money as them to have the things that they have. They want to be in a whole nother class. In fact, people talk about racism, talk about sexism, they talk about life. But one of the most detrimental isms is elitism.
mhm.
That's what the Third Reich was built on, elitism.
Mhm.
And that gets dangerous when you have, a class of people, millionaires, billionaires, whatever, that say they're better than everybody and they don't have to follow the same rule. That's dangerous.
It is.
Well, what the reason for that, in my opinion, is, and we talked about this before, this is a whole different show, but capitalism is an economic system that everybody is not supposed to achieve the same thing.
Right.
Any country where you have successful capitalism, you have an underclass. In France is the North Africans. And in England, it's the people of color from Jamaica. It's the people from Africa. It's the Middle Eastern people. Every country where you have in America, it's the Black and brown people.
Right.
Every
hey,
country
Robert,
that has capitalism, you have to have an underclass for it to work. But
Right.
what happens is eventually, when the middle class goes away, there's nobody for the business owners to sell their products to. And that's what's happening now. Because, they say, well, why people aren't going back to work? For $7, $8, $9, $10 an hour, you can't raise a family on that. And so that's why people are not going back to work, because they can go drive Uber or do DoorDash or do some kind of hustle or start a business. There's been a deluge of young people starting their own businesses. I ran into a young lady the other day, 23 years old. She has 2 beauty salons that cater to kids and just do kids' hair.
Well, that was definitely a good choice. That was a good choice, because we know beauty parlors hardly and barbershops and
Well-
churches don't go out of business.
But my point is, she left an $11.75 an hour job to do that. And this is why a lot of people that were working for not a whole lot of money realized that they didn't have to do that anymore.
Right.
And I think as more people get involved, in the political process, one thing you do when you vote is you can get somebody like Mike Shomer elected, who's of like mind, who would say, hey, we need to do this. Everybody knows we need to build new houses in Ward 4. That's not a big secret, but it's going to take somebody that people vote in to actually go in there and make that a priority and do that.
Well, Mike would have made a big difference because Mike had a plan. The other people had a speech, but Mike had a plan, and he's always been into management. So managing the thing wouldn't have been a problem, and making it happen,
And that's why we got to make sure that he stays involved, because we got a mayoral election tomorrow. And Mike, we planned out your future, man. But,
Hey, Mike, maybe we can get whoever.
I appreciated it, and I kind of like admired the woman that one of the people that won the Miss Gray. She won, that she's going to be elected. I'm kind of like backing her.
Good, yeah.
The thing is that she did the work. She did the work, and she got her people together, and that was the thing. She had people that was true to the game, that that stayed with her all the way, and I admired her, organizational skills to bring the people in. Now, the thing is that, and of course, I'll be trying to work with her to try to get some of the things that, I wanted to have, that I would have done to do it. And it's a big undertaking, and maybe, I got connections to do things, and, let her use, introduce her to my connections, but, the thing is just trying to get some things done in a place where, things need to be done. And all it takes is like, if you look out in the other suburbs and stuff, it's volunteerism. If you look on this, we were out Midville or something like that where my grandson played football. He goes to Olmsted Falls, but you could see in the sections, the stadium was donated by this family. The concession stand was donated by this family. These people over here, the volunteers to do stuff, and I was at a Ward 4 meeting last week, and the lady said she had 40, when she put out she needed some volunteers, and she had 40 something volunteers. They said, but when she told them they was gonna go through the neighborhood and clean it up and pick up paper, she ended up with 6. I'm just saying, this is just crazy,
But see, that's the thing. We got to stress the importance of doing those small things. The ministers got to get involved. The family, the fathers and mothers. Everybody's got to get involved. Because small things make a big difference. That's the thing.
Yeah, like voting takes 5 minutes.
Voting's big.
Tomorrow you can vote. It's not like Atlanta where you have to stand in a line for 8 hours. In Cleveland, you can go vote in 10 minutes.
And you know what? That shouldn't even be in Atlanta. That's ridiculous. You shouldn't have to stand in a line for hours.
No, but
what does that do to senior citizens? Somebody with bad knees, bad back.
Yeah, you shouldn't. But see, the way you change that is not voting. Marching, is getting involved in voting. You can march. Marching is effective to raise awareness to an issue, but in order to really affect change, that has to happen at a level, a decision-making level, administrative level. And the way you do that,
not necessarily administrative, but an organized level. Because look at the woman who didn't get up her seat on the bus. I can't think of her name right now.
Rosa Parks or the other?
Rosa Parks. That was a group of people who got organized and said, "We're not spending any money with these folks until they treat us right." And what happened? They bended.
That bus boycott almost they sent them almost into bankruptcy because it was black folks catching the bus.
If they had proceeded a little further, they could have started their own bus company.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's true. But all those people, one thing they all had in common?
They'd have cut the tires on the buses. They'd have burnt the buses, at that time.
Another thing they all had in common was they got involved and I guarantee you every last one of them voted.
Yeah,
I'm sure they did, but voting, they didn't vote the bus company. If that was the case, they could have voted themselves to sit where they wanted on the bus.
Well, they
They-
got their
They got
their
together,
elected.
they organized and acted.
I
They
got
took action, direct action.
I have a question for both of y'all.
Uh-huh.
When did we stop voting? After we got the voting right? I mean, because when we came up, we was voting, we was every chance we got.
That's
Well,
what I'm saying.
we were involved. We were involved. All three of us, and I think I was 12 or 13, were involved in Carl Stokes' campaign. Because I remember
was too, yeah.
I saw you, Mike, down at the was it Statler Hilton?
Yeah.
That's where we had the big party at the end.
We were like 13 years old, and it wasn't necessarily our parents, but just everybody in the neighborhood. I remember Reverend Houston at Eastview Church said, "Hey,
Right.
you guys need to get involved. You're gonna work on the Carl Stokes campaign." But Eastview Church, used to have visitors like Martin Luther King, Reverend Osborne, David Abernathy, Jesse Jackson, and we used to have all these activists. So we came up in a time of activism. We came up in a time of activism.
I think I remember Woodward Nichols.
When did we stop? That's what I'm saying.
When did we stop voting?
No, that's what. Hey, Mike, I'm about to get into that. Woodward Nichols, Black History professor at Community College. He's gone now. He's passed. But he was saying when the movie Superfly came out, he said that's when Negroes went back to sleep. He said that movie had such an impact, and it really did. Lines down the block and everything. But brothers didn't want to throw anymore. They wanted to do. They wanted to hear the process.
Yeah.
They wanted that fast money. They wanted them Cadillacs. They wanted the girls, all that association,
Here again is another excuse. That's why I hear people. Now, listen.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I hear people, to think more things change, the more they stay the same. Now, a lot of people said it about hip hop. Say, what's wrong? Well, it's the hip hop got the kids all screwed up. And it's the same reluctance to accept personal responsibility.
Robert, you're not getting it, man. Robert, you are missing the point.
No, Virgil. I mean, I'm thinking about Virgil Overton.
It's okay. Now he had money.
It's about personal responsibility, and all the other stuff is excuses, man.
No, Robert. I agree with it. It is about personal responsibility. However, it's not an excuse. Why do you think this government spends so much money on programming us, through the media? All this money for put these negative images in our head. Do you know when the Black Panthers were fighting them up in Oakland, California, the FBI was feeding negative stories to the newspaper because they know the power of media. You got, I'm saying we got voting is part of the equation, but we got to educate, connect, become activists. To me, that's what's key. So we can create an environment that makes people want to get involved, turn off the video game, put down the joint, put down the 40 ounce, and let's go talk about these issues. Let's make it important to us, and let's vote.
Well, I think we also need to address personal responsibility. Because your guy, listen. I mean, and I've seen this happen where a young man committed a robbery and killed somebody. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, "Wow, he got life in prison because he was Black."
He got life in prison because he killed somebody.
Thank you.
Well, you know what? Yes and no.
Poor background.
Let me say. Wait. Let me address that. Used to be when a kid under the age of, I think it was 17 or something like that, he would get what they would call juvenile life. He'd be incarcerated till he was 21 because they know that front part of the brain had not totally developed yet. So he's going to make some wrong decisions. They understood that. But then they said, that's right, charge him as an adult. So now he's 16 years old. He's in a robbery, shoots somebody. He's gone. He's gone. Yeah. But Robert, I agree with you. I am in favor of voting. I am in favor of personal responsibility. But I'm also in favor of coming together to create this environment. I even think we need our own schools, because there's things just like the woman who did the math for the Apollo, for John Glenn, which one was John Glenn on? First time he orbited Earth 3 times?
Apollo 13, I think.
No, I think it was either Mercury or Gemini. It was one of those, the Apollo was 3 guys. But we should have known about that woman before now. Here I am, 68, and that took place. I mean, it's 2021. That was in, when was it, 1969 or something? We went to the moon or whatever.
Yeah.
And a black woman, we're just finding out about her.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot of people who,
Movie Hidden Figures.
yeah,
Well,
there's a lot of black heroes and geniuses that we should have known about. You know,
See,
this is all important.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people knew about it. It's just like there was 3 or 4 guys who went to school with us whose dads were Tuskegee Airmen. You know, and that, to me, I mean, we know about that, and I used to go to on Saturdays, I would go to this school called the Moorish American Institute, where they would
I used to
teach
go
you
there.
about Black history.
93rd.
Yeah, they would teach you. Al Maple's dad was one of the teachers, and they would teach you about history. And one of the things he used to always stress is don't wait on anybody to solve your problems. Take personal responsibility and solve it yourself.
Exactly.
Don't wait. He said, you don't have to go to a certain school to be educated. He said, you can be educated anywhere you are. And the knowledge that you don't get in school, you go get on your own. He used to make us go out to the library once a month and do research a subject and write about it. You know, we had to write like a 5-page paper about a subject that we didn't know, having to do with Black history. We had to go research, and then we had to bring the paper to him. And you know, so, you know, one of the things he used to stress was personal responsibility. And he said, if you're waiting on, you know, somebody else to, you know,
Fix
better
your
your situation, it's not, you fix your problem, that's not gonna happen.
No, I agree with you on. I agree with you 1,000% on that. But I think the personal responsibility should first start with us taking control of our communities, seeing that we get our kids get the right information and education and motivation, and then from there, they'll learn and appreciate being responsible for other things. You know, especially our own destiny. We can't wait for anybody to solve it for us downtown 100%. You know, we got to do it.
Well, you know, it was a thing that one of my mentors told me a long time ago, and it was just that, you know, you have to have the mindset that says, if it's to be, it's up to me.
Up to me, right?
Up to me.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
you know, in changing things, you know, we have to start, just like if the neighborhood is looking bad, hey, you start fixing it. Lady across the street from me, you know, she had her garage repaired. I'm getting my garage done next year. Okay. So, you know, you're just like, okay, then, well, you know, hey, you know, people see things, yeah, you know, not that my garage is falling down because I don't have a garage, but nevertheless, I'm gonna give me one.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, I think
cleaning up your property, people start cleaning up their property. And then if the person not cleaning the property next to you, this is what I teach my grandson. I say, and women probably would dog me or cringe when I say this, but women take care of the household, men take care of the community. We out here, you know, to do the things in the community.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm gonna leave that.
That's the way. That means that if I'm cleaning my property and the people next door, they're not cleaning theirs, you go over there and make their property look good because our property is right next to theirs. So the house over here, house over there, then you have to do that too. Pick up the paper over there. Pick up, you know, sweep up over there. It ain't gonna take you much to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? That's a mindset. Because when we came along, I know one time we lived on Onaway, and from my house, and there was like a skating rink about 4 or 5 houses down.
Yeah,
You remember?
The ice skating rink.
Yeah, the ice skating rink. That's what we played hockey. There was
at
trash.
At the corner in the wintertime, they fill it up with water.
Yeah. And you play hockey.
Right.
Well, when there was trash anywhere from my house to the ice skating rink, my father told me it was my responsibility to go out there and pick it up.
That's right.
The people would ride by sometime, they'd throw a beer can out or a glass. And he said, there's glass out there. I had to get a broom and go sweep it up.
I got a question.
Trash out there. Huh?
Did he tell your sister to do that?
No,
See, that's what I'm talking about. You can say you're leaving it alone all you want to.
No,
Right.
You got to take care of the community.
You know, and that's a whole nother show, you know, like not just traditional roles, but yeah, you know, there's some value in that. You know, I remember a guy I was listening to in San Francisco, and he was I don't know, he's a professor or something. We're out at USF. Anyway, his wife was a police officer, but whenever there was a noise downstairs, honey, go down and see what there was. He go down, you know what I'm saying? She's a cop, but she sent him down there. You know what I mean? There's something to that, you know. And we got to talk about families, and you know, like our different roles, and
But let me
it's
tell you,
important, you know, being a team again.
you say this when you finish, bro.
Go ahead.
That voting should be a family affair.
It should be. Amen.
When
Amen.
I was in high school, I was 18, and my mother would say, hey, we're going voting. I said, Mama, vote no. We're going voting. Okay, you know.
There you go.
My sister turned 18. We all went together. You know.
yeah,
So,
we did too. Yeah.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a
Matter of
family.
fact, we used to go. I remember as a kid, we used to vote at Roselle School in East Cleveland when I was a kid. My parents, my mother would work the polls, and they had the old voting machines, you know, with the curtain. When
Yeah.
you voted, then you pull the thing back, and the curtain would close, and then when you got finished, you open the curtain would open up.
Yeah.
And we always thought it was so cool, man, to go up there and mess around. So we couldn't wait to go vote.
Right.
You know, I was going there with that mindset. I just couldn't wait to pull the curtain shut, you know. But I think what it did is when you know, and my kids, when they were young, I used to take my youngest daughter in with me when I could carry, and I let her poke the holes for me. Said, we're going to vote for this person. Then when they got a little older, I said, we're going to vote for this person. I would tell them why, you know. And she said, oh, you're going to vote for Lou Stokes because, you know, he's your friend and you know Angie. I said, no, that's not why we're going to vote for Lou Stokes. We're going to go vote for Lou Stokes because he does a good job in our community. And my daughter, I remember asking me, well, shouldn't you vote for your friends? I said, no.
No.
If my best friend was running, James Dillard, I wouldn't vote for him. You know, but I think when you get exposed to that at a young age, I mean, we were preteens, man, and we were working on a campaign.
But yeah, I see, and that stuck with me. I remember too. Yeah.
Yeah, and
that
you
is so important.
Church, we used to go on Saturday. He would let us have a dance in the bottom of the church, but to do the dance, he said, well, today we're going to paint houses for elderly people,
Right.
On Huff or Lexington. And you would go down and you would paint, he would buy the paint, you would paint these people's houses. And then he said, for doing that, then you could have a party. And if you didn't go paint, you couldn't come to the church party. Right. You know, where, you know, and I think what it did was it taught us how to be involved in the community, and it taught us what service was. You know, we thought we were just doing it for the food, for the hamburgers and hot dogs and a party, but it was teaching us service because a lot of that carried on, you know.
It does. Yeah. You know, a lot of these kids, when they're coming out of college nowadays, they got to do 2 years of service before really, you know.
We got to get to more families.
Okay. Mike, it's your turn to talk. Me and Ver have been talking all the time, so you got the last 5 minutes.
I'm just listening. I'm listening to y'all. Y'all got some good conversation going. Even though
no, I think we all kind of struck some really good points, and we're not that far apart. You know, go ahead, Mike.
You know, I think the whole thing is based on the family, and you know these you know the pipeline, the prison, and all that stuff have disenfranchised the family so bad until, you know, that we have to basically put it together. That's why I was saying, you know, I had talked about you this about a couple of weeks ago to try to start a national organization called Black Men Vote, you know, BMV. So, you know, that's what I think, you know, that we have to get our fathers, our brothers, and our uncles and stuff to actually take over their, you know, be a first part of getting their families together to vote and you know, go over the issues and understand what's happening in their community, because you know you go to community meetings in the minority communities here, the African American, I say Black, But nevertheless, you go out to the, the Caucasian, the suburbs and stuff like that, they have a whole, they have people standing room only, people outside, they can hear what's going on to make sure that they know the issues, that they know what's going on, and they have a platform to basically voice their opinion to, it's either yay or nay. Like we had a thing, coming up in the vote that in the community, they want to put a electric field, field over behind the fire station over on 131st. And, I asked, well, what benefit is to the community? Well, no, it's just that the fire department won't be able to, they don't want to pay electric. So they get free electric, with the solar field and put the solar field on there, but nobody else uses the electricity. It's just for the fire station. I said, okay, then why would we vote for something like that? Because see, and they say the guy was from Cleveland Public Power, and he was saying, he was saying, well, the money that they're going to save, because I asked them what they're going to do with the money. Is that going to come to the community? They said, no, what's going to happen is that that's just for the fire department. But listen, this is where it go down. They're going to lose revenue because they want to do all the fire stations like this. They're going to lose revenue from the Cleveland Public Power. Guess who got to make up their money?
We do.
The citizens. They got to make up the money. So therefore, what they asked is, do we want higher electric bills? Stop saying like, who would vote for that?
Right. But see, here's a good example of getting involved. Like you said, when you have things come up before council like that, when council votes on things, one of the big things, the problems in council is they had no public comment time. And I think that's changed, right? Because the public's going to be able to comment. But when you have a council meeting and they're all set to say, hey, we're going to do this, and 500 people show up and say, no, we want to do that. Right. Sometimes you get, because I know when I was on the planning commission for a while in the community in Shaker, and we'd go in and say, well, we're going to build this. And I'd have my mind all made up and say, oh yeah, this is great for the community. It's going to generate some income, blah, 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 and you get in there and you go in there and it's 85 people telling you why you shouldn't do it. And what it does, it presents another point of view that you maybe hadn't considered. And a lot of times you would change your mind. Right. You would say, you know what, you're right. So I think, and that's because the people were involved.
Right.
Yeah, that's because of involvement. If people weren't involved, we would just go ahead and did what we thought was right from our perspective, but from the perspective of the people, they and a lot of times, and this happens a lot of times, in council and with the mayor, when people show up and voice their opinion, you reconsider and you consider things that maybe you hadn't thought about before, and a lot of times you will change your mind. So one of the things I learned is, if you, as an administrator or council or whatever, elected official, always keep an open mind till you hear all the facts.
Right. And you're right, because once you take the clothes off of it and the proposal standing up there naked, you see it's exposed to be like, oh no, I'm not voting for that.
Yeah. And see, a lot of times you don't even consider things like that. That's why, when I say voting is important, but involvement too, because we had a community organization called Moreland on the Move. And what we would do is we had different people in the organization that would monitor the different city meetings. See, Shaker has different, like they have a group that decides the service policy. They have a group that decides the police and fire policy. So we had people, at the planning commission, we had people monitor all those meetings. So when we came together once a week, we know what was happening in the city. It was like, oh yeah, they're gonna build a car wash here. And we said, oh no, we're not building a car wash there. But see, a lot of times if you're not involved, then things happen. And you say, well, God, when did this happen? You ride down the street and say, when did they build this? When did this happen? Because they will, the people who have a financial interest are gonna be at the table. And it's up to the people, to like I said, be involved. And that's my 2 cents. So Mike, close us out on voting, man. Why should we vote tomorrow?
Well, to protect your community and to protect your family, you need to vote. You need to make a vote and not just vote to be voting, but vote your conscience and make sure that, whether a person wins or lose, it's just like, if that's the person that you feel is best, you vote for that person. But you vote, get your family to vote, and keep voting and stay active, because we have to improve the conditions of like Guru says, well, God would not improve the conditions until a person improve their own conditions. So we can improve our conditions.
Right.
Verl, any closing thoughts?
Everybody try to get out there and remember to vote tomorrow. It's an important election. We can turn the city around, just like we came from a proud place back in the 70s, going into the 80s, but we became apathetic for whatever reason. So basically, we got to unite, organize, motivate, stimulate, and activate this community.
Okay. And I just want to say that, take personal responsibility, vote, and do for self. Good evening, and thank you for watching.
Don't forget to share and like our page today.
And subscribe.
And
Let's Talk Radio
and
with a
subscribe.
Y, R-A-D-Y.
I was just backing you up.
I know. Yeah, like and subscribe. And as I said, we cover a lot of subjects, and sometimes we have some pretty spirited discussions. And the reason we do this is because we like to think of ourselves as truth tellers. We like to kind of put it out there like it is, and we like to present different points of view. And so hopefully one of the things you get from the show today is to go vote if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching. Good night.